Hi, it's Christy of So to Speak. Welcome to the So to Speak Closet Series. What this is a video series where I invite guests virtually into my closet and we have conversations on a variety of topics. And then we all go ahead and invite you to be a fly on the wall in my closet so that you can join in on the conversation. And our hope is that you get whatever you need from our conversation. So whether it is an escape, whether it is a relief, whether it is a good cry, a good laugh, some knowledge, curiosity, insight, whatever you need, we hope that you get it from these real and honest conversations. So before I bring in our next guest, I want to talk to you about something that is running rampant in our community and in our world right now, and that is fear. Whew, it's a big one. Depending on the day, depending on the hour, it ebbs and flows, but it probably is always somewhere close by. And you can take a little bit control back from whatever you fear in a technique that in coaching or in therapy is often popular by characterizing your fear. So taking whatever you're scared of and creating it as if it's a character. So you're giving it a name, you're giving it a voice, you're giving it a face, you're dressing it up. And what that has a tendency to do is to take the power away from whatever you're scared of and to give you back the power. So my next guest and I did that with COVID. And we didn't do it to make light and to not take our situation that we're all in like to not take it seriously. That was not the point at all. The point is we are all so freaking sick of COVID and we're sick of being scared of it, and we are all being responsible and staying home and washing our hands. But I think I can speak for everybody when I say we want it to get the hell out of town. So please enjoy my next guest and I as we talk about what COVID would be if it were a character. And then we jump right into the power of the arts, the power of creating, when to consume and when to create, and how to start creating, and how it is absolutely soul food for yourself and for other people. Who's my guest? Devin Mahoney. Devin is a Utica native. He is a co-founder of the Uptown Theatre for Creative Arts, along with his wife, Briana. And he is a writer, he is a stand-up, and he's a real honest guy who speaks candidly today about what it feels like to be quarantined and to also find the inspiration to create. So if you are someone who considers yourself a creative, or if you are wanting to get some sort of outlet of being able to express how you're feeling, you definitely want to tune in and gain something from my conversation with Devin Mahoney. So please sit back, enjoy our conversation.
If COVID was a character,
Ah,
what would it sound like and move like?
um,
Like if you
I
could,
think I think you would you would have respiratory problems. I think right, you would be raspy a little bit, and he was just kind of like hop, like right. He would hop from one place to the next, like waiting for the right
be a
time to
close
jump out of your mouth.
talker,
Yeah,
super
definitely
close
a close
talker.
talker. Yeah, yeah, and a nasty guy, not a nice guy.
Totally.
If he's nice at first, right? Like at first he's like, hey, I'm not even here. Don't worry about it. And then he kills you.
Wow, I just thought of Ted Bundy. Is that bad? Kind
Um,
of.
I hope all the artists and writers and poets and movie makers and creators, well, not movie makers, they're getting paid enough. But to learn times like these how important art is, and to have that to fall back on,
Mm-hmm.
both is personal therapy to make you feel, uh, like you got something accomplished, but also to just kind of, as escapism. But and I find being intentionally creative is a good way to manage stresses and disruptions. And anytime I've been in, not anytime I did a uh, uh, stint doing cultural cognitive behavioral therapy, and a big cornerstone of that for me was doing art and using that as a centerpiece of what kind of helps me function is being able to get my artistic stuff out so that I can take care of, other things in the world.
Absolutely. And so it's like its own way of kind of like shedding whatever you're feeling that is kind of riling up inside, so that it there's sounds like there's like peace with it. Like whatever you're creating, like, oh, it leaves a little bit more space. It's not like this ball
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah. I think, for creative people, I think creating is almost a necessity, and it can be hard in times like these. I don't feel inspired to do things right now when I'm sitting around my house and
Hmm.
just kind of uninspired and bored and missing my friends and sick of all this. But I think anytime I can motivate myself, and it's hard, and sometimes you just have to sit down and pop yourself and make yourself do it. But making sure that I do the things that I need to do to make me feel better. So sometimes it's just taking the day off from all the other shit and drawing or doing some other creative project or writing or making editing or doing a short, but being able to dive into projects like that and just kind of zone out on them is a great escape and therapy for me
Hmm.
anyway.
Yeah, and you said escape a few different times. So going off of that, like how, or maybe not, but how do you know when enough's enough? Like how do you know when you're not so escaped that there's point of no return? Like do you have a cutoff point, or do you know
Well, I
when to
have my
escape?
kids to keep me here, and they don't
Yeah.
ever let me, get too
Oh
far
yeah.
away. But it's nice to just kind of zone out and only be focusing on one thing.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, and I don't always get the time to do it now. So it's or a consistent time, or when I have the time, it doesn't seem like the right time. Um, so trying to make a point of doing it as often as possible, even just
Hmm.
setting goals of kind of like I'm trying to make a new video once a week now for the Uptown, and even that is a kind of a loose thing, and I hit or miss the mark, but at least it's I have some sort of target to try to hit.
Yeah, and in that, so like speaking of that, so you and Bree are the co-founders of Uptown Theatre for Creative Arts, and
Yes.
you're one of the nonprofits, like the gazillion out there who are feeling the major hit right now. So when you're doing the video, is there anything that you think of specifically that helps you show up and be inspired and not just, I mean, you have a choice right now, right? Of like looking at it that way or looking at it like it's not worth it, screw it, I'm not gonna, like what
Right.
allows you to show up?
Yeah, it's well, we have a lot invested in this. We took it was just I think 2 or 3 days ago where it's been 2 years since we got the keys to this place, and we put a lot of hard work into it and building not just the building back up, but the community of the people that have been coming to take classes and to our open mics and do our comedy. And in it this thing hit it for the Uptown a really bad time. We were just um we were really just starting to find some great momentum with our new lobby movie series on Tuesday nights, getting 60 people in the lobby to watch a movie. And we had just launched a whole new spring um calendar of shows we were going to put on. So to have this hit right away in the middle of that is tough. And so it's we're just trying to do whatever we can to try to stay connected with those people and try to keep the interest and the community alive while we're still separated from each other. So we're
Mm-hmm.
doing classes online. We're doing Zoom calls with the community there, so we can all keep in touch and come up with new ideas. And we're doing kind of creative writers rooms so we can talk about ideas in terms of putting videos together, or kind of anything else we're thinking about as we try to figure out how to transition from a live comedy theater to something where 10 or 15 people create content independently by themselves, together by themselves, while not interacting. So it's a whole new thing. It's a new opportunity. It gives us an opportunity to, start producing digital content, which is something we've been wanting to get into. So, with nothing else going on, we're able to, start thinking about things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So going off of what you're saying about like creating new content and the fact that you're like, there's actual opportunity coming out of here. That's something that a lot of people, I do feel like a lot of people are realizing that there is opportunity coming from this. And it's, again, your choice if you are going to see what opportunities are coming up or if you're going to look at it otherwise. So when you're talking about creating new content, how would you, if you had any recommendations for people or even for yourself, like consumption versus creation, right? We've always had a consumption culture across the board, no matter what it is. But right now, I sense for myself, I had to kind of pump the brakes. Like the first week and a half, I was consuming so much freaking online content that I felt like totally burned out from it. And so how do you practice, or any insight that you have in regards to people who feel, I'm consuming so much, I want to be creating more, but it's almost becoming an addiction where they're consuming more than they're creating? How would you shift gears, and why is it important to?
I think I think just doing is important, and having done something, even if that's consuming a show for an entire day, that's a thing. But I think I think it can be hard, and not everybody knows what to do. I don't always know what to do with
Mm-hmm.
my time and energy, but I think just finding projects that kind of inspire you and hit your interests are ways to, you can find ways to either make art or make content out of making art. Uh, how-to videos, or anything you can, any way you can be able to share your own talent or something you're able to do is, I think there's a good opportunity for that now, especially for people who are stuck home, who want other things. Like I'm appreciative for the people that are reading kids books online, and
Mm-hmm.
teaching yoga classes, and the gyms that are doing workouts, live broadcasts. So it's not best case scenario, but there are opportunities to be had. We weren't able to do our first weekend of programming, which was two new improv teams, long and short form improv, and we had a number of stand-ups we invited, some from out of town. um, and we had 2 nights worth of shows that we didn't get to put up like we wanted to, but we kind of squished them together into one night of shows on a Saturday night, and live streamed it right before this kind of thing, right on the last weekend before everyone was staying home. We shut the theater down, and put some googly eyes on some houseplants and made them our audience, and live streamed it and did a fundraiser with it while we did it. So we weren't able to open up, but we made over $1,000 on the night just for putting on a show. And now we're trying to find ways to do that with us all stuck at home. But there are, I think it'll be interesting to see what comes of it, both uh, the kind of online interaction and the content that comes from it.
We're seeing like the content that comes from it, going a little bit further into that. So the content that, of course, we all will have binge worthy moments of watching shows, or how do you distinguish between when it's escapism and when it's inspiring you? Like, do you feel any difference between the two, or is it?
um Sometimes, yeah. I mean, sometimes, and those are the times you wait around for and you hope for, when you feel inspired and really want to dive into something and are passionate about it. But I think there are just as many, there are more times probably for me where I'm not feeling inspired, and but still feel the need to do something. So just sitting down and trying to eke something out, for me, can be a victory. Um,
So what makes you do like those moments? I feel like that is the hardest part. Like, you're reminding me of Stephen Pressfield. You remember The War of Art? Have you read The
Yeah,
War
I
of
was just thinking of that. Yeah, it's
Oh
just
my
doing
God.
it, right? It's just
Yeah.
sitting down and doing it. So, and that's what you find. I found as a writer, and really as any type of creative, it's always, you procrastinate, you put things off, but as soon as you're sitting down and doing it, you're off, and it's the easiest thing in the world, and you kind of are connected to the creative flow, which is, I know I saw you talking about, uh, uh, the artist's way. which is another book I really like,
Mhm.
about kind of, being able to tap into that creative flow of energy, and those things are very similar to me, which is just kind of,
Mhm.
once you do it, you're connected, and that. So morning pages from that book is something that I haven't done in a while, but have just been thinking about starting to redo. Writing a couple pages every morning of just whatever's on your head, anything, just 3 pages of
Mhm.
garbage, just to kind of get the shit out of your head, and
Mhm.
the the juices flowing has been, even if I stop at that and then go on to other things in the day, whether I'm specifically creating or not, that tends to, um, put all the different ideas that are jumping out of my head at bay for a little while.
Yeah.
Focus on one or two things at a time. A lot of the other things it teaches on, taking yourself out on dates and treating yourself and making sure you have your own time for you, and
Mhm.
giving yourself space to create,
Mhm.
which is another hard thing when you have four people uh,
Mhm.
jumping down your throat all the time as you're all, quarantined in a house.
Mhm.
Sometimes just locking away in a linen closet,
Yeah.
talk to someone
Case
about
in
it.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So
Totally. And so you just talking about morning pages reminded me of earlier in our conversation when you were saying, not exactly, but parallel, when you were saying how like when you're creating, sometimes you just get it out,
yeah,
and how that helps you. And I was saying maybe there's a sense of peace, and that might have been the wrong word. I'm being subjective, because for me, I feel so much calmer once I just get stuff out that's kind of
yeah,
flying around. But it's very similar to morning pages. It might be a different purpose, or like you showing up for a different reason, but it's still like just that getting it out. So like when
yeah,
the biggest thing, it's like going to the gym, people who don't want to work out, once you get your sneakers on and you get out the door, they're like, the hardest part is lacing up the sneakers. So like for
yeah.
writing, creating, any creator, right? So you were saying once you sit down, you're off and running. So that,
Yeah, the hardest part is getting past the blank
how do you
page.
do it? And
Yeah,
how do you get past that? Like it's such a small space, but it's so big inside
you
of
just
actually,
fucking you just go,
you just,
right? Is what I
there's
you just
no,
go.
there's no
You
pill.
write
I
and you
know.
edit later. It's never going to be right.
Yeah.
In we would call it in sitcom writing, you would call it the vomit draft, right? You'd have the outline of what you knew was going to happen. You don't even try to make the first draft
Mhm.
good. You just try
Mhm.
to get it in the right shape. So
Mhm.
it's, that you're not worrying about jokes, you're not worrying
Yeah.
about being clever. It's just like, this person says this thing, this person says this thing,
Mhm.
till it's all there, and then it's writing is rewriting. So it's just,
Yeah.
it's and then going back and fixing it hundreds of thousands of times until you've completely gotten yourself crazy. But it's not, for me, I mean, that's the easiest, not the easiest thing to do, it's the easiest thing to know how to do.
Mhm.
But you tend to find that even when your goal is to do a shitty draft, clever things come to your head that you hadn't thought of before, and
Yes.
stuff that if you had been beating yourself up, even if it's just a placeholder line you slug in for someone else, it sets something up for something else that is now
Mhm.
like, oh no. So it's just the process is doing it.
Mhm.
The whole thing is the process. So until you start, you can't know where it's going to go.
Mhm.
It's kind of like improv, which is what I like about it.
You
um
were reading my mind. Like that was my next question, because of what you were saying about putting something crappy out there and realizing that you having the nerve to put something crappy out there, quote unquote, right, is what is going to end up possibly coming up with like one of the best ideas in a brainstorming session.
yeah,
You
I
have
mean,
so speak to that. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, you don't want to censor yourself. You just want to do it. We tend to be our own harshest critics, but if you're not throwing something out there because you think it's a bad idea, um, I'm usually wrong about things. There have been so many times where I've pitched bad ideas, and, well, maybe that's not a good thing. People have liked them, but yeah, I think it's important just to not edit. Once we start self-editing, that's a big improv thing. Then
Mhm.
you don't get all the options. You just kind of, it's limiting
Mhm.
to what you can do. So, yeah, throwing everything out there, seeing what works and what doesn't, and then whittling down until it's what you're looking for, I think.
It is really that simple. And do you notice like the more that you show up to write, I don't want to say it gets easier. It's just that you know what's on the other side. Like, you know what's possible on the other side. So
Yeah.
I get, easy is not the right word, but I notice that when I make it more of a routine where it's non-negotiable, even if I say like 15 minutes, I will inevitably write longer, and I know it will feel better,
Hmm.
and mental health right now is, whatever you can do to keep your mental health up is like number one in my book. I mean, I think that's like the biggest thing, whether it's movement or whether it's writing or whether it's painting or whether it's singing, or I don't care if you're sewing, like, whatever is creating a stability of mental health. Because as we get further along in this pandemic, I do feel like that the people who aren't on the front lines, they're either miserable that they're stuck at home, or they're feeling like they're on vacation. And I think that's
Right.
slowly changing. you
Yes.
know, People are starting to like, there's starting to be a weight about that. So
Yeah. So I think just staying engaged and
mhm,
being whether anybody likes it or not either, is even if it's just for yourself.
mhm,
We made a video. I don't know if you saw this at the Uptown last weekend, mocking that Gal Gadot video
I didn't,
where they did you see the Gal Gadot video?
no.
So Wonder Woman did this video with all these other celebrities of them each singing a line or two of Imagine, John
Okay.
Lennon's Imagine,
Okay.
and it was just kind of like really hokey and really just like missed the mark,
Okay.
kind of, right, in terms of these celebrities uh passionately singing this song like this video is going to heal the world. So we did a parody of it where it was a bunch of the improvisers from the Uptown, and we did a very serious a cappella singing of "Send Me on My Way" by Rusted Root.
Rusted root, yeah.
Uh, um, and it was stupid, right? It was so stupid. It's such a stupid. But it was. I spent a day editing it, and we all recorded. Everyone had fun doing it, and it was fun
Mhm.
to put out. And like whether
Mhm.
anyone else likes it or not, it was something for us to do and be creative for the day.
Mhm.
And it got us
Absolutely.
through a day and made a couple people laugh.
Mhm.
Uh, so it was worth it. So even things like that, which aren't gonna, which can't help you, necessarily career wise, or whether you can sell it, or just having created sometimes is just
Mhm.
a way to make yourself feel better. I think
Totally. And it keeps the pump pumped, like it makes it so the well's not running dry.
well, exactly. And then then you're at least things are still firing. When you do have a good idea, you can you're in a place where uh you're maintaining the flow. The hardest thing for me is to get
Mhm.
in and out of the groove with
Mhm.
other things come up. So to just be able to try to be creative in whatever ways I can when I can. It's just one of the few things keeping me sane right now.
How does carving in times like you just said, singing "Send Me on My Way" or whatever it is that keeps you feeling a little bit more human, help in times like these to keep the fear at bay, or even to like dismantle the fear a little bit?
I think, I think one of the good things that's come away from all this is that kind of like, for me anyway, it kind of shows you what's important right away, right? Like all the bullshit of like uh, bills and mortgages and jobs, and it's like that's fucked for everyone now. So it's like you don't feel so bad having your life in a little bit of turmoil. So there is reassurance about it. But I guess to answer your question about the art, it just it I feel like it just helps me personally get back to myself rather than so much uh, coping. It's just kind of like everything else melts away, and you get down to the things. When you have all this time on your hands, you can get to the projects you want to do
Mhm.
and do the things you want to do. And doing those things, I've found, has made me feel more human in the past few weeks. And you
Mhm.
realize that, like, oh, doing these things, it is the stuff that makes you human. And all the other running around to appointments and meetings and what else I'm trying to do to have a successful life is really the stuff that's stifling me.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I mean, we'll see how bad this gets, but for the time being, what a gift to have this time to kind of get caught up and be creative and have the time to worry about being creative, to pass
Mm-hmm.
the time. It's a pretty great curse for right now. They'll play this back in 10 weeks when everyone like this asshole. But the beginning of it is,
I think you're in the boat with the
tough.
majority. I think it goes back to what we were saying. Like, right at this point, I do think people are feeling gratitude for the pause.
Yeah.
5 weeks from now, probably not, but who knows? Like, we don't know. We have no idea what the hell's happening. And that is something that's universal, is this uncertainty. So there is some sort of, for me at least, there is some sort of calm and relief that we are literally all in this together. I think there's something to be said about being honest now. I do feel like, are you noticing that? Like, people are just cutting right to the meat. There's just so much less BS and there's so much
Yeah.
tolerance.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, I mean, we'll see what comes out on the other end of this. A lot of bad stuff will come out of this, but hopefully a lot of good stuff will come with it too, even if it's just reminding us all what is important to us.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's our families or but beyond that, what is important to us as individuals and what makes us happy and what gets us through the day in terms of what fulfills us. And that's not always our jobs. Sometimes it is, but I think in light of everything else going on, it's kind of like what drives you. And with all this time, should you have it, how can you best take advantage of and do something that makes your soul happy.
When people want to find more about you, where can they go?
UptownUtica.org is our website. We're on Facebook /UTCANY. The same for Twitter and Instagram, UTCANY. Also Uptown Improv _co. Yeah, that's it for now, I think. You just search for the Uptown, you'll find it. Yeah, I'm also ordained in 2 online churches. So if anyone needs any
online marriages
weddings or online marriages, exorcisms, I'm the internet has deemed me appropriate to do those things.
And legal, which is amazing.
Yep, legal.
So he's also legal, everybody. If you will, do a rapid fire lounge question, fill in the blank. Okay, here we go. All right, so 5 people who you would lounge with, living or dead. Go.
Ooh, Del Close, Bill Murray, hold on, Dave Grohl. Oh, we gotta get some ladies in there.
Sausage party.
I don't want a sausage party. And then I'm trying to think of some good girls to get in there. Probably Elaine May and Tina Fey.
Beautiful. Okay, and with them or without them, lounge music.
Oh, it would be Nick the Lounge Singer from Saturday Night Live.
Okay. And what food are you? Yeah, tell me.
Well, that's Bill Murray, so I would scratch him from my first list and then add in, I don't know, like Chris Farley or somebody.
Oh, so you get like a sneak bonus. I like it.
If he's doing the music, then I'm not going to count him twice.
Totally. Why not? Even though who wouldn't want double Bill Murray? But so right now, what's your lounge food of choice?
Oh man, I don't know. I maxed out on pizza and wings. Like I can't do that anymore. Food of choice. Hummus, Sabra hummus with pretzel chips.
That's a tasty one. Yeah. You can get daydreaming and elbow deep in that in no time. All right. So fill in the sentence. Lounging is
essential.
Okay. And define this. A leader who lounges is
comfortable.
Beautiful. Thank you, Devin.
You're very welcome.
I love how concise you are.